Hey guys, it's Mahel here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about studying a medicine degree in the UK and explaining medical school in the UK. I'm joined by a very special guest, Aymara Anahi, who is a medical school student at the University of Nottingham, and we're basically going to be talking to you about why you should study a medicine degree, what you need to get into medical school, and how it is and how you can balance your working life and also your educational life and much more. So I highly recommend that you do stay to the end of the video so that you learn a lot about medical school and what exactly you need to get in. If you haven't already, or if you're new here to the channel, then make sure to subscribe and click the bell to turn all post notifications on so that you don't miss out on a single video as soon as it goes live. Also, if you want access to exclusive perks, such as being able to message me directly to ask questions, whether it be about your personal statement, UCAS, university, A-levels or anything else, or even being able to play games like CSGO with me on Steam, then make sure you become a channel member today for only £5 a month. You can do that by clicking the join button below the video. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. And I'd like to start by basically introducing Aymara, and I'll let her also introduce herself, let her say what she does, and yeah, I guess you could take the floor from here.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Aymara Anahi, and I'm a YouTuber, but also I am in my second year of medicine at the University of Nottingham, so still got about like 3 years to go. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it here. I'm getting ready to start my clinical phase, which starts next year, so I'm still my preclinical phase. But yeah, I really enjoy it in Nottingham.
That's good. So a bit more about yourself. So you say you're a second year. How are you finding it so far? Also knowing that you're just about halfway through your whole degree.
Weirdly enough, when I first joined, I literally experienced like a car crash when I started the course because the workload was so intense and the studying, like the teaching style was completely different to what it was in sixth form. But I found that since I've started to get used to the course, I've started to find my equilibrium. And it's funny because now in second year, I actually find it more doable and easier and have a better work-life balance than I did in first year, which I think is the opposite of how it goes for some people. So yeah, I've definitely gotten used to it. And now that I'm halfway through, I'm kind of finding it daunting to think that soon I'll be out on wards and soon I'll have like final medical school exams. But I keep telling myself to take it one step at a time, to not get too anxious about the future.
Yeah, see, that's what actually sets out your degree from mine. I do basically no practical work whatsoever, whereas with you, you're doing a lot of practical work, a lot of it unpaid, if I'm correct.
Yes, I haven't started yet, but next year and so I'm going forward, we're even gonna have some like unpaid night shifts, which just literally sounds horrible.
See, honestly, I don't know how anyone could manage that, but there are a lot of differences between a medicine degree and other degrees in general. So what actually made you get into like thinking, you know what, I do want to study medicine?
I think the idea, like for a lot of people, was introduced by my mum. And I always had it at the back of my mind that this is perhaps what I wanted to do. But I think more importantly, what happened is that as I, went through my journey of being at school, I kind of found that my personality and the things I was interested in was suited to being a doctor, not the other way around. It's not like, you look at a list of qualities a doctor needs and okay, they need to be empathetic, right? How do I show I'm empathetic? It was the other way around. So I found that I was always drawn to working with people, volunteering opportunities, mentoring. And then in doing that, when it came to applying, I was like, wow, I have this wealth of like voluntary experience. And same with science, I always found that it came a bit easy to me. It came easier to me. So yeah, that's, I think, my love of working
we can
with
see the human body in
exactly in the sun. Yeah, so I think both liking to work with people and finding science enjoyable was then what propelled me to have a successful application, if that makes sense.
Okay, so that sounds good. But like also so when you decided that you wanted to do medicine, what were your like first thoughts? How did you go about this? So you had the thought in your head like, I want to do medicine. What was next?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I think when you have that question, it really depends what stage you are in. So for example, if you think, right, I want to do medicine and you're in year 10 or year 11, you know, it's not like you can just walk out and get work experience. So for me, I had this thought around year 10 or year 11. So I was like, right, what can I do to get involved in my community to show that I like working with people? So it was volunteering for, like, for example, for me, it was like a literacy scheme where you mentor 6 and 7 year olds in numeracy and literacy. And it also involved me, you know, wanting to try extra hard to, even if I didn't do one of my other subjects, to really try hard in science. So I had a good foundation, even from GCSEs. Then when it came to year 12, it became getting involved in like more serious and longer term volunteering opportunities, getting involved in essay competitions or science competitions to really boost my application. So yeah, I'd say for me, it involved me thinking, right, how do I start to fortify my application and show the university admissions personnel when it gets to it that I really do want to study this career? And also not just focusing on the application process, but also focusing on exploring the career. So trying to find friends who might have doctors as parents, or trying to look up online lectures or TED Talks, anything that would give me a taste of what medicine is like, to see if it was for me.
See, I think that's actually very good that you've pointed out bolstering your application, because as with any degree, but medicine in particular, it is a very competitive degree and places are very low despite the obvious need for more workers in the NHS. But that's a debate for another day. So obviously you did different things about like reading up, watching videos and stuff. And I straight away want to say that this is something that is very good to do if you are looking to apply for university, for any degree even, because just by watching or reading the news or different videos, you have an idea of the degree that you want to study a bit more. And also it can actually provide examples for you to use within your personal statement. In your personal statement, you want to talk about why you want to study a degree and use some practical examples. So for example, let's say for business, you can talk about Kodak going bust and basically Canon taking over, and say why that interests you. So if you're not being proactive in watching and reading other things, when it comes to your personal statement, you're not going to actually have much to talk about. And so this is why it's actually very good that you do this. So then let's say a few months ago, you read up an article about something and it just pops into your head while you're writing your personal statement. Absolutely go ahead and write about it and say why it's basically relevant to you and what you learned from it. It shows that you have a wider interest in your degree rather than wanting to study a degree for the sake of it.
100%. I couldn't agree more with what you just said.
So when you decided that you wanted to study medicine and you started being a bit more proactive, when it got to the application stage, so thinking about what university you want to apply for, what was your thought process around that? What universities did you actually apply for? What did you firm and ensure? And then why, obviously, Nottingham in the end?
So with I have to admit, my application through selecting which medical schools I wanted to go to was a bit chaotic, and it did change dramatically. So initially I was very much set on Oxbridge and London universities, and I was like, this is what I want to aim for. I did that completely blindly. I have to admit, I was like, I really like, you know, striving for more. I think Oxbridge is a prestigious, like, you know, set of universities, so I want to apply there. And I noticed, luckily in time, that was completely silly, because in doing more research, I noticed that Oxbridge wasn't the course for me. So Oxbridge has what I'm sure a lot of people watching will know is a traditional course, unlike the Nottingham course. So traditional course involves basically doing only lecture-based learning up to like year 4, and then only your last 2 years you get clinical experience. Unlike what we have in Nottingham, where it's an integrated course. So yes, you have lectures in the first 2 years, but from your 3rd year, you start getting practical experience. And actually in my first and second year, and if it hadn't been for the COVID, I would have been able to have more GP and hospital placements from day one. So for me, that really cemented the idea, right, I don't want to go to Oxbridge or London universities because they operate in a similar way, because I'm doing medicine not just because I want to be a researcher, I'm doing it because I like working with people. So that meant for me that if I went to one of those universities, I wouldn't thrive. didn't want to. Eventually, didn't want to go to London because I originally come from London, and I thought, don't want to be like 10 minutes down the road, but paying like 10k extra just to live a little bit from home. So then I was like, right, I want to go somewhere like a Russell Group in the rest of the UK. So I settled on nowhere too far, like Scotland. So I chose Nottingham, Birmingham, Bristol, and Exeter. My first choice was actually Exeter, and my second choice was Nottingham because I got rejected from Bristol and Birmingham even before the interview. And actually, I'll talk about this later, but that was because I didn't apply to my strengths, that's a really important thing medical students need to know about. So yeah, I ended up, I didn't get the grades that I needed because the examiners got my grades completely wrong. So I didn't get into Exeter. Then got into Nottingham. My grades were remarked, got the grades I deserved. So now I'm in my insurance, which I'm so happy I'm in Nottingham over Exeter.
Oh, so wait, so you only apply for 4 universities?
You're only allowed to apply to 4 universities for medicine.
Oh, okay, I didn't know. That's actually something I didn't know myself. So you learn something new every day. Are you basically saying that you wanted to go to Nottingham because of the practical element in your
100%. And I really recommend that people think not about the university, about the prestige, because I'm sorry, we're all going to be working in the NHS at the end of the day. It's not like another degree where maybe if you go to Oxford,
unless you go to America and make a load of money.
Exactly. So don't apply for prestige, apply because of the course, the type of course that you're going to get, how practical it is, and basically the university and what you think about the university.
Yeah, so that's actually something I was going to ask about prestige, because obviously it's a bit difficult because similar to the business school has its own reputation that's separate from the university. And similarly, like the medical school has its own reputation that's similar to the university. So you kind of have to look at how prestigious a university is, but also how prestigious that school is. So in your decisions, were you looking at it as the University of Nottingham or like the University of Nottingham Medical School, or a mixture of both in terms of what appeals to you from those?
That's a really good question. I actually had never thought about that till past application. So when I applied, I very much was looking at it as the University of Nottingham, and that I think that was wrong because obviously University of Nottingham is a great university. It's a Russell Group university. It's a leading research university. But compared to Oxford, I was like, no, it's not the same. Why am I applying? But then actually, since joining the course, and this is something that everyone needs to know, University of Nottingham Medical School is a leading medical school. Literally, my professors and lecturers are on the front lines of their respective research fields. So we had a lecturer who's the only one in the country that specializes in his specialty. So many great inventions were made in the University of Nottingham Medical School, like the MRI scanner. Can't believe that was invented at the medical school. And we have lecturers which are real life doctors who are leading experts in their field, who do a ton of research that you have at your fingertips. And also, the University of Nottingham Medical School and the Queen's Medical Centre is the hub for the East Midlands. So you get to, when you start your clinical placement, you get to see such a variety of cases coming from all over the East Midlands. We're the only, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're the only, we're the only hospital that does neurosurgery in the East Midlands. So all over when there's major trauma, everyone has to get shipped to the Queen's Medical Centre. So you're at the hub of so much medical innovation, which I think you don't really get shown until you join medical school.
Okay, yeah, so to be fair, that does sound quite fair. So obviously you looked at it as a whole. Because some people say, oh, this university school is placed somewhere high, but then when you look at the university in general, it's not placed so high. Which is why obviously for prospective students, I would say generally look at the university's ranking first and then look at the school's ranking, because you want to find like a balance. Because I'm just going to take a random university. No one's going to be like, oh my god, the University of Birkbeck's business department is so good, when that university probably isn't in the top 100 in world. We're just using top 100 because Nottingham is actually top 100 in world, and so are many of the other Russell Group universities. So obviously, whilst a university may have a decent enough school, the university as a whole may not be so great. So do definitely look at find a balance. So let's say, for example, a university was like 150, top 150 in the world, and their department for whatever your degree you're looking at, whether it be medicine or something else, was top 50. I'd say that's good, and you should definitely consider that. But then if there was massive differences, then that should raise a red flag. Obviously, with medicine, the stigma is that it's a very tiring degree. You don't get any time to yourself and stuff. So before we get into the actual degree, which we're just going to talk a bit more about the application process now. When considering your universities, did any of that like extracurricular opportunities come into play? Like, for example, does this city have a great nightlife, or what the society's like, or even what the gym is like? I mean, I chose Nottingham because the gym's so nice, but that's another story. Yeah, did anything come into mind, or anything like that?
Yeah, 100%. So obviously coming from London, I'm used to living in such a big city where, you know, there's everything on your doorstep. And I wanted to go to a university where obviously I knew it wouldn't be like another London, but where you still had a variety in the shops that you could go to, the restaurants, the nightlife, the people that you meet. And actually, this is one of the reasons I'm glad I didn't go to Exeter, because Exeter is a very small city in, you know, all the way in southwest England, that you don't have the same sort of diversity. You don't have the same kind of like, not only actual diversity, but also diversity in the activities that you can do. So yeah, I really like how Nottingham is, you know, it's a fairly big city. You know, you have a lot of shops, such a variety in nightlife, and depending on what the music you're interested in, such a big student community, because it's such a large university that you have so many different types of groups of people. And also something that I love was how beautiful the campus is. The medical school, the actual campus, very modern. I really like it. So that definitely helped tip the scales in favour of Nottingham.
100%. To be fair, we do have a very beautiful main campus, quite a green campus. And even though I hadn't visited university before applying and actually accepting my offer, I looked from the campus videos alone. I was like, wow, this actually does look quite nice.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Warwick University a bit as well. The Genogly Terrace is similar to their terrace. And things, just small things like that can actually have an influence on your decision. I mean, you're there to obviously get a degree, but then where you get the degree from, even if, like, let's say one university is better than another, if that university that's below has just that extra edge on things like how nice the campus looks and how vibrant the city is, then you may decide it's worth going down a few rankings on your university place to go to somewhere where you may enjoy yourself more, because ultimately it's worth finding a degree that not only will secure you good job prospects, but also one that you will enjoy, so then you don't want to drop out or get to a point where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know why I'm here, because no one wants to go through that.
Exactly. 100%. I couldn't agree more.
So when you got your offers, just talk me through your offers. Like, what were they? Obviously you said that Birmingham and Bristol had rejected you. Yeah. Like, what grades did you need, and then also what grades you ended up achieving?
Perfect. So for Exeter and Bristol and Birmingham required A-star AA, and Nottingham required 3 A's. I was predicted 3 A-stars, and so yeah, that wasn't a problem. The predicted grades wasn't a problem. But I think what's really sneaky in medicine is that different universities prioritize different things. So, for example, Bristol, they don't necessarily prioritize grades. They prioritize a very high admission score. Other universities, instead, like Exeter, they instead put you in priority groups depending on what your predicted grades are. So obviously for Exeter, I had a really good chance because of my predicted grades. Now, my admissions test score was low, so I made such a big mistake applying for Bristol and Birmingham. knowing they wanted high admissions test scores when I had low admissions test scores, I could have instead applied for different unis which overlooked the admission test scores and, you know, valued more predicted grades and work experience and stuff like that. Nottingham's good because they look at you holistically. So they give you points depending on your admissions test score, on your predicted grades, etc. So I immediately got rejected from Bristol and Birmingham as soon as I submitted my application. Didn't even get invited to interview extra in Nottingham because they look at your application more holistically. I got accepted, did well in the interview, got in. Then when it came on results day, I got 3 A's. Didn't get into Exeter because of that. So automatically went into Nottingham and then got remarked and finally got the 2 A stars in the A that I was meant to get.
Honestly, 2 A stars and an A, bloody hell. I'm here sitting on ABB. Wow.
We're at the same uni, so.
Hey, that's what I try to tell myself. But so you mentioned assessment scores. So did you actually have to do like third-party assessments alongside your A levels to apply?
Yes. So depending on the medical school you want to go to, you have to do the UCAT exam or the BMAT exam. BMAT exam is for Oxbridge and London medical schools. UCAT is basically for all other medical schools. They contain very different things. So UCAT is very much like quick multiple choice questions, I'm pretty sure, which contains quantitative reasoning, so like simple maths, verbal reasoning, abstract reasoning, which is like shapes, decision making, which is like logic questions. BMAT basically assess you on GCSE to A level physics, biology and chemistry with like an essay ethics question. So you can see the BMAT takes a lot longer to prepare for because it involves that essay and the, you know, content questions. Meanwhile, the UCAT is just about practicing those quick, simple, but complicated questions.
Do you have any tips for either of those, how to ace it or how to prepare?
Yes. So I absolutely bombed my UCAT exam. I did terribly. And that is because my plan was to, okay, I'm just going to do a lot of revision 2 weeks leading up to my exam. Don't do this. Do a little bit over a long time. So I'd say 3 months before you're set to do the exam, start doing an hour or 2 a day of question sets. And then obviously nearer the exam, start ramping it up. I think that's the most important thing. Get, you know, there's a big book that you can get, which is just filled with questions. For the BMAT, I didn't do it, but I mean, my advice of doing it a little over a long time applies to, I think, anything in life. Don't cram it, just do a little bit over a long time to start to really, until your technique becomes second nature.
See, I'm one that actually is an advocate for cramming, despite how bad it is. But I actually have done a video on my channel on how to cram for an exam, so do go and check that out if you haven't already. I love a natural plug, but you just say it up right there. So with your A levels, was there any specific A levels that you needed, or like anything specific that you needed for your application? And did this vary from uni to uni?
Yes, so every single uni requires that. Well, most unis want you to do chemistry. There are a few that don't. So if chemistry is not your forte, apply for those unis. Most unis will want you to do biology. There's a few that don't. So biology and chemistry tend to be the ones they want you to do. But obviously, if you weaken either of them, then apply to one that doesn't require that. And then your third A-level subject is really up to you. I was told that universities would prefer if you did a science. I'm not sure how correct this is. If you force yourself to do a science and you get a C, or if you do something that's not related like history of art and you get an A, doing a subject that maybe isn't related, but you're more likely to get those 3 A's that you need is much more of a better idea than, you know, forcing yourself to do an extra science.
Absolutely, because whilst you just got to look at it as a weight of different factors. So the subject that you choose may weigh like this much, but then the grade that you actually achieve may weigh this much. So whilst you should still think about the weighting of the subject that you choose, ultimately it's the grade that you get that's the most important. That's how you should look at it with any degree, even because I know there is that whole debate about taking non-Mickey Mouse subjects, but people then automatically assume that all 3 of your subjects have to be like chemistry, biology and maths. but
Yeah.
that's just not the case. And for example, let's say you did chemistry, biology, and maths, and you got like AAC, but then someone who did chemistry, biology, and I don't know, religious studies got
Exactly.
AAB, then the AAB will probably be looked at more favorably at the end of the day because, well, to be honest, you don't need three really academic subjects, let's say, and as long as you have one or two, especially if they are required for your course, and you get a good grade in them, then your last A level is usually overlooked a bit as long as you get a grade. Anything else that you want to add on the application process before we move on to the actual degree?
Yeah, so after you've submitted your personal statement, your UCAT, then depending on how the university likes you, they'll invite you in for an interview. Now, there's two types of interviews. There's MMI and traditional. I'm not going to define them. You guys can look them up. But with your interviews, I really suggest that you get practice in. So, you know, whether you can ask your friends, they don't have to be doctors to help you practice. You can simply give them a mark scheme, give them questions to ask you, and just practice becoming like comfortable with getting asked questions on the spot. So make them a range of questions. You know, at your interview, you'll get asked ethics questions, you'll get asked questions about your work experience, you'll get asked practical questions like to do a urine dipstick test, even if you've never done one before. So just, I'd say, you know, get practice answering questions on the spot, because that's what's going to mean that when you get to your interview, you feel comfortable and at ease and you can answer your questions to the best of your ability.
See, this is all scary for medicine because you've got like other assessments, you've got interviews. I had none of that. It was just straight up A levels and that's it. I mean, so I can only imagine what medical school students have to go through before they even get into the degree, let alone once they're in. I think there is actually so much to talk about in terms of medicine degree that if you guys are enjoying this video so far and you would like to see a comprehensive guide on certain subjects such as the application process or actually studying degree, placement, etc., and you'd like to see Aymara here again, then let me know in the comments below and I would definitely consider doing that. We're going to move on to the actual degree now. So you started, it would have been September 2019?
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you sum up your time here so far?
So initially, absolutely terrible. I didn't get involved. I let my work consume me. I didn't get involved in anything, not sports, not gym, not anything. And I was like, I can't do this. I don't know how I'm ever meant to get used to it. Now, funnily enough, the more I've taken on, you know, taking on YouTube, sports, other side projects for psychiatry and stuff like that, have I really been able to enjoy my course? Have I been able to enjoy my day-to-day life? And, you know, now I'm really grateful for the opportunities that Nottingham has given me. So yeah, now I'm really liking it.
So wait, so would you say that your degree started quite intense right from the very get-go?
Yeah, the thing is the intensity hasn't changed, but the way that I've acclimatized to it has.
Okay, so yeah, that's good. I think everyone can actually relate to that. In first year, although they do still need to pass and do decently enough, it's your first year, you're trying to settle in, and so you might be a bit all over the place. But then obviously after that, you come to the realization that now you actually start working, start building up a bit of a routine and whatnot. And it seems like you have, because obviously you have a YouTube channel alongside your studies. Are there also any other extracurricular activities that you do?
Yeah, so I recently started beginners lacrosse, obviously not now during lockdown with the uni, and I tried to get involved in projects, for example, in the specialties that I'm interested in. So I'm interested in psychiatry, so I'm now doing like a psychiatry essay competition with the Royal College of Psychiatrists. So I try to dabble in the super curricular stuff.
Yeah, see, I think also a misconception is that, well, when you're studying in a medical school, you're so busy that you literally don't have time for yourself. But it seems like you've actually done quite well for yourself in the sense that although you are in an intense degree, you're managing to basically upkeep and build upon your own brand. getting into physical activity a bit more as well, and just generally managing a healthy lifestyle in terms of not too much studying, but also not too much having fun. You just want to find that balance. I think I have to word that. So actually, tell me about your YouTube channel, because it does actually relate to your time at university and basically studying in medical school. Why did you start a YouTube channel? When did you start it? And what exactly is your idea with it? Like, what do you want to achieve?
So my YouTube channel, I'd say, obviously involves, it has, the thing when you're a medical student, you have to remain very professional, because you have to, you have to keep in mind that in the future you will be, like, the public will have access to you, and obviously you're a doctor, people put you in a position of respect and authority, so it's important to keep this in mind. So sometimes, I do find myself a bit cringy having to post just me studying and, being like a goody two-shoe all the time. But I do here and then like to sort of show really what I'm really like. So whether that's vlogging week to week, whether that's vlogging when I go on holiday, doing silly challenges and stuff like that, because obviously I'm not all about medicine, and I don't want my channel to think, I don't want people watching my channel to think that I'm only about medicine. I started it at some point in first year just because I'm not sure, I really like the whole idea. I really liked watching YouTube videos, and I thought, oh, I really like talking about myself, and I'd like to, get in having, I don't know, I'd like to make aesthetic videos and stuff like that. But I didn't start to take it seriously till literally this December, where I was like, right, if I actually want to perhaps make an income out of this, and increase my influence, then I do need to start posting regularly. And my idea of it is, I definitely want to help people get into medicine and increase the amount of different people getting into medicine, because I think right now there's a lot of bias towards certain people from certain schools getting to medical school, and I don't think that people from private schools, which actually I went to a private school, I was on a bursary though, luckily enough, but I know how much support people from private schools, for example, get into going to medical school. And I wanted to make these resources, which I've learned, more accessible to everyone. And also just to, provide, like, just teach people things. I'm a tutor in my own time. I've been tutoring for about 4 years. So, using this quality of mine to help others. And hopefully as I get older, using it as a professional platform. So advocating, for example, for mental health and using it to reach out to people.
See, that's really good, actually, especially the mental health front, because not enough is done to raise mental health awareness. You may see the odd Instagram post here and there, but it's just not enough. So I really do respect that, actually. In terms of, obviously, because you have to be quite professional in the workplace, it must be quite hard actually showing off the medical school, mustn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think a lot of people, the thing is, you have to be very professional as a medical student, and you have to maintain certain standards, but that doesn't mean we don't have fun. However much I maybe not be allowed to say it, medical students are just as crazy as your other uni students. We get up to stuff, we love to drink and stuff like that, but it's just being very careful about what you portray, and thinking twice before you post something, or something like that.
Absolutely. As with anything that you put on social media, obviously when you're at university, believe me, more people than you can see than you think, and sometimes not the right people. I myself have had a few warnings. I'll just put it out there now, for things I posted on my YouTube. So
well, I love the tea. Yes.
I'll save that one for another video, but if I speak, I'm in big trouble, and I don't want to be in big trouble. So right now, so first year and second year, how do they differ, and what were you doing last year, and obviously what are you doing this year? And do you feel that certain people would have had upper hand over others due to having studied something before, etc.?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So first term of first year, for anyone coming to University of Nottingham, it will be hell. Don't worry, it's not you. They basically, for some reason, it's throw you into doing loads of biochemistry, genetics. You literally don't talk once about an actual illness. Until this year did I learn, only this year have I learned what diabetes is. Literally the whole of first term is literally about, this is a cell, this is DNA, to a really complex level. And I think it's just to throw people in the deep end, And if anyone hasn't heard of those processes or hasn't covered it because they're international students, everyone gets to cover it once again. Then from second term of first year onwards, very much more clinical learning, which I definitely started to enjoy more because that's the degree I signed up for. So every week you're given a case study, and that case study has the basically type of illness that you're learning about, and all your lectures support your learning of that illness. So for example, one week we were learning about asthma. The case we were learning about and had to answer questions on was an asthmatic. So all the lectures were about, how does the lung work? How do the drugs that help asthma work? So it's sort of, it's case-based learning. Last year we learned about sort of like the cardiorespiratory system, so heart, lungs, musculoskeletal, so bones, muscles. This year we've done the liver, the kidney, the brain, including psychiatry and neurology, and some like hormone stuff, and so those are the topics we've covered. And the aim is we've done reproduction this year, and the aim is like after the end of 2 years you'll essentially have covered the basis of the whole body.
Okay, so how long would you say that you spend on inside the medical school, so things like lectures, practicals and whatnot, and then how long do you spend outside on, for example, preparatory work, reading, etc.?
Yeah, so I'd say sometimes when it's bad we have like 15 to 20 lectures a week. Right now it's not that bad, and then on top of that you'll be learning. You'll be having dissections, for example. So the lectures are all based on, for example, pharmacology, which is how drugs work, physiology, which is like how the normal systems of the body work. But anatomy, you'll go to the dissection, but you won't have like loads of lectures on every single muscle in the leg, but you're expected to know that. So that is learning anatomy. You have to do it in your own time because it's a long process of memorization. So I'd say I spend quite a bit of time in my own time creating revision resources, learning and memorizing the information. Because the thing is with medical school, and I think most degrees, it's not like at school where, for example, you're doing trigonometry. You have 2 weeks on trigonometry, you get an introductory lesson, some homework, another lesson, some homework. It's one lecture per topic. So it's up to you to go back to those topics and create revision resources so when you come to revise at the end of the year, you're prepared. So what I've been doing is, aside from all my lectures, I'll spend an hour or two, or let's say 4 hours if I have a half day, 5 hours if I have a half day, of creating online flashcards, creating questions that I can test myself on the end of the year. So I'd say on average, I work, for example, from 11 to 7 every day, 11 to 7 every day, 11 to 7:30. I'd say that.
I mean, that
Not
sounds
Saturdays and Sundays.
that sounds quite intense. When you say like 15 to 20 lectures a week, I have 6 a week. Put it that way. Honestly, when I've talked to other people and they're like, "Oh, I have like 10, 20 lectures a week," and for the past 3 years, I've had 5 or 6 lectures a week. I'm just like, is there something wrong with my degree or something?
You have to read. You have to read. That's the difference. We don't have to read anything.
But even then, I would argue that the amount of work that you have to do outside of school is still greater than what I would have to do. And it must be tough during the pandemic as well, obviously, doing all this work outside of uni because you're basically locked in. And I can imagine that there's a lot of information to take in as well. You probably need quite a bit of space, and you probably don't have that right now as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, no, it is a bit difficult. But for example, for me, I personally like it because I have to admit, in first year, I found going into lectures too overwhelming. I do them basically all from home. Sorry, my ring light. Yeah, I do them all from home. And so now having it all online, being able to, perhaps have a line one day and do lectures a little bit later or rewatch them, I actually really like, because personally, I don't see the value in, you have to go into lectures from 9 to 5 every single day. Why can't you just do them in the library? But yeah, no, definitely having workspaces and even going into campus as a break from being at home, that's something I really miss. Going to lecture hall, I don't miss so much, but going into campus, seeing other students, going to a coffee shop, I definitely miss.
100%. Even going to Portland Coffee I've only
Yes.
been there a few times, to be fair. I do prefer the Starbucks on Jubilee campus. But even just small things like that can literally make a difference to your day, and realizing that you don't have that right now, it can be a bit of a downer. But obviously, if you're watching this and you're currently going through your medical degree, then just keep pushing through. We will get through it together. Especially for you, when you've got 2.5 years left, basically. I'm done at the end of this year, although I will be doing a master's.
Oh, so not really. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm done at Nottingham. Let's just say that.
Oh, right, yeah.
But more tea that we won't speak about, otherwise I'm in big trouble. So do you have any tips for anyone that's actually studying a medical degree right now? Because I know people do tend to actually watch videos about the degree they're already doing.
Yeah, I definitely do. I think it's so important for any student to, even though everything's online, to stick to a good routine. Because believe me, it's so easy to wake up at midday each day and then start working at like 2 p.m. and let it carry on to midnight. And then, you wake up late, you can't make the most of the daylight and go outside and have a run or whatever. So have a good routine. Start working early, finish working early, so you can have the evenings to yourself, so you have enough time to refresh, so that when you go back to working, you're able to and you don't procrastinate. And I think really try to emulate as much as you can having a normal life as possible. So, going outside for a run, going to your garden or your drive, setting up an exercise mat, doing weights there or whatever, as if you have a gym, or, being creative with your friends. So having like, I don't know, me and my housemates, we like did the living room up so it looked like a bar and pretended we went out to a bar and everything. So yeah, definitely emulating normal life whilst lockdown continues and having a good routine, 100%.
I've actually seen a few videos where people will print out like on paper pom pom and ink and then put it into different cartoons.
Yeah,
It's quite
I've
funny,
seen that.
but definitely things like that to spice things up a bit, and also
Yeah.
some feeling of normality is
Mhm.
great. So you mentioned obviously setting a schedule. What does your day look like? When do you wake up? When you go to sleep? What do you do in between?
Yeah. So ideally, if on a really good day, I would start working at 9 a.m. And so if I really ideally would want to wake up at 8 a.m., start working at 9 a.m., make sure I'm well fed, I know what I need to do that day. From 9 a.m. to about like 1 p.m., I'll work, whether this is lectures or doing my own revision if I don't happen to have lectures. And then have some lunch, watch some TV for like an hour. And then from about, let's say, 2 to 6, work, doing lectures or my own revision. And also, obviously, I don't know if you can relate, but a 1 hour lecture, when you're rewatching it, takes about 3 hours to actually write all
So
the notes for. Even if it's on like 1.5 speed, I don't know how the maths like checks out. But and then after in the evenings, I try to, for example, now I'm trying to work out with my friends, so we'll go into the drive and do like abs workouts or go for a run, which I think is really important. And then keep the evening completely to myself. And this is something that I've changed from before. I'd keep working till really late. But actually, when you're working at like 9 p.m., you're really not doing your best. So why not just take guilt-free time to yourself so that the next day you can wake up earlier and keep working? So I'd say, yeah, from 7 onwards, I take it, my time is my own. Saturday, I make sure that I do anything but work. And then Sunday, I'll like do some preparation before the week ahead. So Monday to Friday, working basically most of the day apart from evenings. And then, yeah.
See, I think that you actually touched upon something important there about not working like late at night, because recently I actually spoke to the tab and offered some advice to prospective second years, and one of them was to have a progressive working system, which is basically at the start of the semester, where you're basically starting your modules and stuff. Start with maybe like 1 hour a day of studying, and as you get closer to your deadlines, increase that, because there's no point in studying for 7-8 hours a day right at the start of a semester, because not only are you going to burn yourself out by the time you get to where it matters the most, assessment season, of course, but also there really isn't much to do for that amount of time. And as important as the degree is, you need to enjoy yourself as well. So
Yeah.
at the start of the semester, if you're doing crazy 7, 8 hour shifts, working till like 12 a.m., it really isn't the one. So my advice is to, for example, start with 1 hour a day when the semester starts. And as time goes by and as you get closer to your deadlines, gradually increase the amount of work that you do. So not only do you get time to get accustomed to it, but also you're studying where it matters the most, which obviously is assessment season. I'm sure you would agree with that as well.
Yeah. I think the one caveat to that is that we don't have modules. So at the start of semesters, we start like it's the same intensity as it is at the end of the semester.
Okay.
But I do completely agree when it comes to revision. So, for example, people go crazy even now. Like this girl, our exams are in June, and this girl said to me, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm already starting to revise. Like my whole weekends are taken up by revision." And I'm like, "It's March. Like our exams are in June. What are you doing?" Yeah, and as you said, do 1 hour every week now, and then once it gets to exam season, yeah, definitely ramp it up. But yeah, I definitely apply that to when it comes to revision for end of years in medicine.
With your assessments, do you get like assessments throughout the year, or is it like at the end of each semester?
We get like a multiple choice question, like 45 multiple choice question exam, 45-minute multiple choice question exam every 6 weeks, but it doesn't count towards anything and your teachers don't see it. But then at the end of the year, you basically get like 6 exams, which indicate whether you go on to next year. So it basically all goes down to your end of year exams, comes down to your end of year exams.
Is it still 40% or is it different for a medical school?
No. So first and second year, along with your dissertation in third year, those grades count towards your BMed Sci, which is your first degree. But in terms of your medical degree at the end of 5 years, it doesn't really count towards anything. Your overall medical school degree are dependent on your fourth and fifth year exams.
Okay, yeah, because I spoke to Dr. Ethan one time actually, and he said that he was getting a degree at the end of his third year, and then another one at the end of his fifth, and it was all a bit confusing, to be honest. If you could, yeah, just if you could provide like a bit more information on that actually, what the difference is between the two, and does the first one really matter?
So your first degree is your BMed Sci, and that's basically like doing a science degree. So it's it's made up of some of your grades from year 1, year 2, and your dissertation at the end of year 3, which is like a project. And the relevance of your BMed Sci as well, previously there is some debate now. It counts towards your end of medical school exam because you get extra points for having done an extra degree at medical school. And this is something that medical students all over the UK get an opportunity to do, and it's good because when you apply to your specialty, you can say that the dissertation you did in third year was relevant towards that specialty, so it's good for your CV. But the actual degree that counts towards whether you become a doctor or not isn't until the one you get in fifth year. So yeah, you get 2 graduations, and I think a lot of long courses, I know architecture, they have a similar thing. So initially they get a BA, and then at the end of in architecture 7 years, you get your architecture degree. So it's you graduate with 2 degrees, but the last one is definitely the most important for becoming a doctor.
So if you're graduating with 2 degrees, are you still paying for one, or do you pay for both?
Well, fourth and fifth year are paid for by the NHS, so you get a bursary from the NHS for it.
Okay, that's actually quite good. Obviously, you wouldn't want to be paying like 20 grand a year, as a home student. So what are your plans for the next few years of uni? And then we'll talk about briefly like what you want to do after. So obviously, being halfway through your degree, how do you see like the next half going in terms of your degree itself? Obviously, COVID, what you think will happen with that? Do you think you'll have some sort of sense of normality, and what you want to do with your YouTube channel in that time as well? Me personally, I just want to say that I do have a bit of regret not uploading as much as I could have at this university. Something I'll look to change for my masters, but obviously with you, there's a lot of time, and you said it yourself. You want to put a focus on mental health, and also help people get into medical school and kind of get rid of some of the misinformation as well. So yeah, just talk me through your plans for the next half of your degree.
It's funny you say that about regretting not vlogging more at uni, because I felt the exact same way about first year. I was thinking, you know, there's people who've been posting twice a week for 1 year, and now they're on like 50,000 subscribers. Like, if only I'd been able to do that. So don't worry, I'm sure there's someone like who's doing their masters that feels the same way as you. And you know, every single day is an opportunity to change that. So now going forward, I definitely want to keep going. YouTube, I ideally would want it to become like a second income, because for me personally, I don't want it to be where medicine is my sole income, and it's like it starts to become no longer something I enjoy but something I have to do. So I'd like to get multiple channels of income, so medicine is still something that I'm passionate about but I don't rely on for money, if that makes sense. And in terms of my still at medical school, I'd like to keep delving into the specialties that I'm interested in. Right now I'm thinking of, or I'm trying to, and I'm not going to say too much about it in case it doesn't go that way, but changing the policy around mental health provision for children. So getting involved in that and trying to push for, as I said, things that I'm interested in the medical community. And yeah, I think I'm going to really enjoy clinical phase, because right now it's felt a lot like loads and loads of science lectures. And as I said, I didn't sign up for a science degree. I signed up to be working with patients, helping people. So hopefully when it comes to my clinical phase, being on the ward, seeing doctors and being in the environment I've always been passionate about will be a little bit easier. Not easier in terms of the workload. I'm sure it'll be very pressurizing, but it will be more motivating.
Okay, and basically with your YouTube channel as well, obviously covering medical advice, well, medical school advice. Let's get that right.
Yeah.
We do not offer medical advice around here. Please go and see a professional. Do you have any like influences? Like, is there anyone that you look up to, and do they have like an influence on, just for example, your YouTube channel, or actually whilst you're studying for your degree as well? Because I know there are quite a few medical school YouTubers out there who cover exactly what you do, basically, and who knows, that could have an influence not only on how you do your YouTube channel, but just give some motivation for your day-to-day with your degree as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting question. I think till very recently, Ali Abdaal was a very big inspiration. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's like, you know, yeah, he's basically a mogul. But then recently I've started to be put off by him because his videos are only about productivity, and I think he definitely prioritizes productivity above everything. Every single one of his vlogs is, I think he has like a productive Valentine's Day vlog, he has a productive Christmas Day vlog. And this is my favorite thing. He actually hired a coach to help him with his love life, like a productivity coach for his love life. And so now I've been put off because I'm like, no. And I want to stress this to all medical students. Life isn't about productivity. Sure, it helps you be successful, but it's not the only ingredient to success. I quite like Faye's channel. I think I love how, you know, I love how much of a different medical student she is to what you usually have. You know, she's very much like an influencer who's also a medical student, which I respect that duality. And there's this medical student, I think at UCL, called Suni Sun, which is, I love his videos, very well edited. But I think for me, you know, I do draw on a lot of, I do get a lot of ideas from these people, and I'm definitely motivated by these people. But I think for me, I feel like I have my own gap in the market. So for me, I really want to try and unite being academic, but also, you know, just having a lot of fun in life and, you know, being authentically myself. Yeah. So I think I'm trying to bring those two different types of medical students together through my channel.
100%, especially with the productivity point. Honestly, if anything, like, I personally feel doing these, like, my 5 a.m. routine, like, constantly and shoving it down people's throats, like 14 hours study with me, doesn't help motivate people. It's a massive downer. That if you're doing it constantly, it'll be like, people will start to think, should I be doing this? Why am I not doing this? Oh my god, exactly. I am not doing this. And it then comes down to, I am not doing this, and then you try and do something that not many people can do, and to be honest, shouldn't even be doing. You shouldn't always be waking up at 5 a.m. I mean, you can, but it's more to prove a point. Like, cool, you wake up at 5 a.m., but then you're asleep by, let's say, 9.
I've seen 3 a.m. morning routines. 3 a.m. What is that?
I didn't even sleep till 6:30 in the morning last night, actually. But it's good that you mentioned that. Obviously, you want to put both perspectives on your YouTube channel, because, like I said, with 2.5 years left on your degree, let's say in theory your YouTube channel takes off massively. What would your plans be after? Let's say you got your degree, and you've also got a massive YouTube channel that you've built on covering life and medical school, etc. Do you then go for like a Dr. Alex George approach, where his main forte is still working for the NHS, but then still covering on his profiles as like a side thing? Or do you go for example, I don't know, let's say Greater Fit UK, who has a degree from Oxford but seems to be highly focused on activewear and the likes, and basically takes influencing as her main career path?
That's a really good question. I think, as I said, I would like to transition into kind of, I'd want to be able to have a professional influence using these platforms. But I think I would not want to just, like, I don't want to be giving out medical advice on YouTube, if that makes sense. I think I'd really like, for example, ideally, to show what it's like my journey, continue showing my journey to being a doctor, showing what being a doctor in the NHS is like, the different paths that I take, the hardships that come with it. But at the same time, I would like to use my platforms to spread positivity, to spread awareness, to inform people, being in that position, being a doctor that people look up to in the future. So yeah, I think I would like to be like Dr. Alex George, in the sense that he definitely, he vlogs his day-to-day life, and he is still an influencer to a certain extent, but he also uses his time to advocate for mental health. So that would ideally, that I'd like to emulate Dr. Alex George.
That's fair enough, because obviously there are some people that I know that were YouTubers at their time during Nottingham, but then after that they just completely stopped. They're like, this isn't something I want to do anymore, or this was just simply a joke or whatever. So it's obviously just good to hear about your plans as well. And obviously, like I said before, it's not about working 24/7. As you can see, Aymara does manage a medicine degree, but also extracurricular activities as well as her own brand. So it is doable, and it's not all doom and gloom. Obviously, after you graduate, you mentioned working for the NHS. Are you adamant on that? So there's no considerations for working abroad? For example, in America, you can make a load of money, much more than you make here. And yeah.
No, believe me, the amount of times, oh my God, I watched this video where there's this female doctor. She earns $1 million a year in America. She has 6 million in savings. I've thought about moving to America, United Arab Emirates, many times, but I think it all boils down to the fact that I'm only moving for the money. My family are here, my culture is here, everything. So I definitely want to stay in the UK. If it's about the money, that's fine. I'm going to find ways to make money in the UK. And believe me, I know like doctors who have an NHS salary, but they have side hustles that mean they're able to, have a really paying house, 5-bedroom detached house. So my plan is to stay in the UK, but just, try, as I said, have multiple channels of income so that I can lead the life I want while staying in the UK.
100%. And also doing it that way also means that you have something to fall back on if one or the other goes wrong. I think, to be honest, we've covered a lot of what there is to cover. So we're going to go for a summary. Is there anything that you want to add for closing points? Any tips, advice, anything like that?
I think my biggest closing tip for application is to, as you said, come up with as many examples that you can use in your personal statement to prove that you are suited to becoming a doctor. For example, if someone says to you, "Oh, I'm really fast," you're not going to believe them until they show you that they show you a fast time. So from day one, as early as you can, get volunteering experience, whatever it is, read whatever books might be wildly relevant, speak to doctors, and you can write about that in your personal statement. Any experience is good experience, and the more you have, the more you can use. That's my biggest tip. And when it comes to the application process, it's long, there's a lot to it. Do a little bit over time to prepare. Then when it comes to medical school, my biggest tip is it is hard, but the hardest thing, but the best thing is to have a work-life balance. It's so easy to study 25 hours in a single day, but it's important that you try as hard as you can to make time to see your friends, for self-care, to do sports, to get involved in extracurricular activities, because that's what's going to make sure you don't burn out and that you stay sane to be able to graduate as a doctor. So yeah, those are my closing remarks.
Absolutely. And I would also just add, like I said before, when you're looking at a university, do definitely look at both the university's ranking and prestige as a whole, but also the school, and try and find a balance between those. Usually the Russell Group universities and the other red brick universities, etc., they will have quite a good balance in the sense that they'll be high in the university ranking, but also high in the school ranking. So just make sure you look out for that and find a balance, but don't just go solely for one or the other. As like I said, for example, a university may have a school that's really good at something, but then as a whole, the university isn't so great. And at the end of the day, you might want to call it elitist, but when you're paying for a degree, and literally the same degree in name across multiple universities, you just want the best for yourself. And so it's really important that you don't just think to yourself, am I being elitist? And simply just want what's best for yourself in terms of your what will get you the best prospects, whether it be in this country or out of this country. Also, obviously, Aymara is a YouTuber, so she does have many videos available on her channel relating to medical school, including vlogs from first year and second year. So I will be leaving a link to her channel in the description below, and you can go check that out. She is close to 2,000 subscribers, so let's hope she can hit that very soon. But thank you, Aymara, for coming onto here and basically for this talk to give an insight onto what medical school is like and how to get in, and also talking about a bit about your plans for the future. I'm going to basically close the video here. If you did enjoy the video, then make sure to leave a like, comment below, and subscribe, and click the bell to turn all post notifications on so that you don't miss out on a single video as soon as it goes live. Also, if you want access to exclusive perks, such as being able to directly message me on Instagram to ask a burning question, whether that be about UCAS, personal statement, university, A-levels, or anything else, and also the ability to play with games with me, such as CSGO, FIFA, etc., and adding me on Origin or Steam, etc., then make sure you become a channel member today for only £5 a month. Make sure you also follow me on my social media. That's at Mahel Khan on Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok, at Mahel X on Twitter, and official Mahel Khan on Facebook. Those links will also be in the description below. Once again, thank you for watching my video on studying medicine in the UK and explaining a medical school UK degree. And I've been here with Aymara, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.